Good morning. And welcome to the Sunday morning worship service at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Kat Gelder, and I am a member of the Board of Trustees. I am a middle-aged white woman with short gray and brown hair and magenta glasses. I am wearing a black t-shirt with a necklace with small birds on it. And yes, the air conditioning is off. We are working on it. We would open the windows, but it is an air quality action day. Happy 2026. Unitarian Universalism is a faith tradition committed to creating a just and flourishing world for all people. Our Universalist theology tells us that every person is worthy of love. And thus, when we say, whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. This is our message of love to you, inviting your whole self into this space to help co-create a world centered on our values. We invite you to learn more about us and consider joining this community to enact our values of equity, justice, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. If you would like to explore ways to connect and get involved, please stop by the newcomer welcome after the service, which will be held in the Founders Room, which is air-conditioned. If you do not know its location, you can ask Tina Lewis, our Director of Membership and Engagement, or anyone at the greeter table, or me. Thank you all for being here today. And now, if you are online, we invite you to greet each other through the chat. And if you are present here, we invite you to turn to someone you did not come with and greet them with a wave and a good morning greeting. We light this chalice
for the shared Unitarian Universalist value of equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Good morning. My name is Kristen Tang, and I'm going to give a visual description. I'm a middle-aged white woman with wavy, graying brown hair, which I have put up today. I'm wearing glasses, and today I wear what some of my friends call my fancy poncho, which has dense designs in shades of orange and cream and black. I am a member of DEUC's Accessibility and Inclusion Ministry team, along with Mary Hamill, Natasha Petroff, Jamie Smith, and staff liaison Steve Cooper and Reverend Mandy. The AIM team strives to increase awareness of issues surrounding disability and disability rights, and to help make all church programs and spaces as accessible and inclusive as possible. Now, when we named our service Baked In Accessibility, we did not mean for it to be literal. So I ask you to please take care of yourselves, and if you need to move to someplace cooler, remember that you can always watch what you missed on the recording. As far as some other accessibility things today, Mary, who's going to stand up, has some copies of the service script if anyone would like to follow along visually. We have 4. As always, we only ask that you please do not get ahead of the jokes. We're also trying something new today. We have live captioning set up on a tablet in front of the podium. If you think captioning would benefit you and you want to come closer, and I think you need to be kind of closer to the middle too, please come up. Today and during all of July, we are celebrating Disability Pride Month. Official Disability Pride celebrations started not long after the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, was signed into law 36 years ago this month. The ADA was a good first step, adding ramps and elevators and other accessible features to existing structures, requiring reasonable accommodations at work and at school, have all been extremely helpful. However, we believe that accessibility in buildings, outdoor spaces, programs, websites, and apps should go further. Guided by the principles of universal design, real life and virtual spaces should be designed to be used by everyone. As Cordelia McGee Tubb, a web accessibility engineer, said, "Accessibility is like a blueberry muffin. You can't push the blueberries in there afterward. They need to be baked in from the start." Today, we will explore why we sometimes fall short in our efforts to create spaces and programs for all people and lift up our dream of what it truly means to be an inclusive community. Come, let us worship together. And now please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Verson. I am a woman in her late 30s. I have dark brown hair to my shoulders. I'm wearing a striped white and red shirt, and I have a lot of freckles because, as we say in our family, sun's out, freckles out. The mission statement of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church reminds us of who we have agreed to be, who we are. Please join me in reading our mission statement. We gather as an inclusive community to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world toward fairness, love, and compassion. The vision statement of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church is our dream, who we wish to become. Please join me in reading our vision statement. We strive to boldly enact our values toward a just world as we nurture our growth to become a more inclusive and deeply connected intergenerational community.
Our beloved community is rooted in the relationships we have with each other, our world, and creation. Each week, we share our joys and concerns. I don't have any joys and concerns from the congregation this morning, but I would like to lift up with sadness the loss of U.S. troops in Jordan as part of the war with Iran, as well as the Iranian civilians who now face life in their village without water infrastructure, the flooding in Texas and all those who are affected, the heat and smoke that we have here. But I would also like to lift up with joy our friends, our family, the support and love we have, as well as this beloved community, this intrepid beloved community who persists in working toward a world that is more compassionate and just. Hear, hear. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Other and ourselves in all the ways we can. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken, please join in a moment of meditative silence. It is time to gather, and we would like all the youth and young at heart to join us in front here. You're welcome to stay there, but if you want to move so you're going to be able to see the pictures, feel free. My name is Kristen Tang, and this is Mary, and we have a story for you today. But first, we have a question. Have you ever really, really wanted to go somewhere or do something, and someone told you, no, you can't? Has that ever happened? Yeah? Yeah, me too. How did it feel when that happened to you? You can just kind of bad, thumbs down, bad. Anybody else have any words that they want to shout out? Frustrating, thank you. Disappointing, disappointing, yeah. Sad, angry, oh gosh, yes. And now, what if it was that everybody on your block could go, and all your siblings could go, but you still didn't get to go? How would that feel? Fear of missing out. Worse. Lonely. Oh, very good, yes. And possibly it would just feel so unfair.
Well, today we're going to tell you a true story about a time when millions of kids were not allowed to go to school, even though they really, really wanted to. This story takes way back in the early 1970s, when Kristen and I were younger than most of you. It's called We Want to Go to School: The Fight for Disability Rights by Marian Coco Leffler and Janine Leffler. Remember her name. Hi, I'm Janine. When I was a kid, it took me a long time to learn to talk and walk. My muscles were weak. I was born with something called cerebral palsy, or CP for short. I learned to read before I could talk, but I needed help doing lots of other things. So, when I was 3 years old, I took a bus every day to public school in my town. I had lots of teachers. I had a classroom teacher, a teacher to help me build my muscles, a teacher to help me learn to talk, and a teacher to help me use my hands. From one school year to the next, I learned side by side with my friends. Together we laughed, played, studied, worked on projects, and cheered. I needed help along the way and extra time to get things done, but I was always part of the class. It is the same way for other kids with disabilities all around America. But one day I read that it hadn't always been that way. In the early 1970s, millions of children with disabilities weren't allowed to go to public schools. Most of the time, they stayed at home or lived in hospitals where they didn't learn much of anything. Or their families had to pay to send them to special schools. Sometimes, children with disabilities were allowed to take tests to try to get into a public school. But if they got in, they were placed in a segregated classroom, away from everyone and everything, and not given the same quality of education as the other kids. Public schools everywhere said no to millions of children who wanted to go to school. But in 1971, in Washington, D.C., 7 school-age children were tired of hearing no.
Peter Mills, Janice King, Jerome James, Michael Williams, George Liddell Jr., Stephen Gaston, Dwayne Blackshear.
They wanted to go to school too. They all had disabilities, and none of them were allowed to go to public school. It didn't feel good to be left out. The kids and their families asked,
Why?
the schools came up with lots of excuses.
We can't afford to have these kids in our classrooms. His behavior is bad. It will not be fair to the other students. They won't be able to focus. She'll be a distraction. Memo: it is my opinion that children with disabilities will not be able to learn. It is believed.
The children and their families made their voices heard.
Our children deserve a free public education like everyone else. The schools won't even test our children. They can learn. Our children would benefit from an education. That's right. Their doctors say so. Isn't public school for everyone?
The schools weren't listening, and the families were getting mad. Many of these parents grew up in the 1950s when they were students who were being segregated. Only back then, it was because of the color of their skin. Now, it was 1970, the Supreme Court decided that every child has a right to get an equal education. Their child was named after one of the 7 children, Peter Mills, a 12-year-old boy with disabilities. Soon, word started to spread. More families joined the lawsuit. It was a class action suit, which meant that it stood up for a lot of children, and I mean a lot. 18,000 students from the Washington, D.C. area were not also receiving a public education because of their disabilities. 18,000. Try to imagine 18,000. Then try to imagine 18 million. That's how many children in the United States that weren't getting an education because they had disabilities.
There are about 1,000 kids on this page. 18 pages would equal 18,000 kids.
On September 24th, 1971, the case, Mills versus Board of Education, was filed in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. Judge Joseph C. Waddy would decide the case. The lawyers for the children fought hard.
All students are equal, and by not letting children with disabilities attend public school, the school is taking away their rights. In Brown versus the Board of Education, it was decided that children have the right to a free, equal public education, no matter their race. I argue that this right is for all children, regardless of their race, gender, or disability.
The lawyers for the schools argued,
the schools can't possibly afford to pay for the education of these children.
Judge Waddy listened to both sides. There were lots of delays. It took a while for Judge Waddy to make his final judgment. He thought and thought. On one hand, he knew that it would cost the schools a lot of money to provide an education to these children. On the other hand, shouldn't schools be spending their money on all children? Finally, on August 1st, 1972, Judge Joseph C. Waddy was ready to announce his decision. The kids wondered, would they finally be able to go to school with everyone else? The families wondered, would their children finally be included? Yes, they won! The court ruled that students with disabilities must be given a free public education. That fall, all across Washington, D.C., thousands of kids were now able to go to school with their friends. It didn't end there. Actually, it was just the beginning. Mills versus Board of Education inspired more federal court cases, leading to important federal laws, guaranteeing public education for all children. All across the country, millions of students with disabilities could finally go to school and get the education they needed and deserved. Thank you, Peter, Janice, Jerome, Michael, George, Stephen, Dwayne. You changed many lives, including mine, the girl who wrote this book. Thank you for being here and listening, and let's sing to the children.
Maya Angelou wrote, "Let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer, and let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good." Giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts we are given by this community and how we live our values in the world. Each Sunday, we offer our financial gifts to both this congregation and to an organization that gives life to these values and makes a difference in the world. In July, our special offering benefits the UU Prison Ministry of Illinois, UUPMI. UUPMI fosters connections between UU congregations and those that are incarcerated in Illinois prisons. This group offers in-prison worship services, covenant groups, pen pal groups, and other programs inside prisons to those individuals who may find themselves in one of the hardest times of their lives. This work affirms the inherent worth and dignity of these individuals, as well as fostering their own free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Additionally, UUPMI advocates for policy changes that seek to improve the quality of life for those incarcerated, both during and after their time in prison. As we pass our offering plate, know that it is a vessel that connects us to each other through our gratitude and generosity. So give freely your thankfulness and abundance that our values can forever take hold in our world.
This reading is an excerpt of a speech given by Haben Girma at the White House Disability Pride Month convening in 2024. Haben Girma is deafblind. She is a lawyer, disability rights advocate, author, and occasional travel vlogger. In 2024 speech, Ms. Girma described an experience she had at Harvard Law School when the cafeteria manager there denied Ms. Girma's request for an accessible menu. The manager did not want to spend time or resource doing something extra for Ms. Girma. These were some of her thoughts about that interaction years later. Ms. Girma said, there's this myth that non-disabled people don't need help. But non-disabled people need lots of accommodations. The cafeteria was full of chairs, hundreds of chairs. Those are accommodations for non-disabled students. Students with wheelchairs roll in with their own chairs. So the school was spending money on accommodations for non-disabled students. And along the ceiling, there were lights. Those are accommodations for sighted students. Blind students didn't need the lights. In fact, the school would have saved so much money if they turned off the lights. The difference between accommodations for disabled people and non-disabled people is ableism. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 318, We Would Be One.
I'd like to start today by taking another look at DUUC's mission and vision statements. Notice the highlighted words. Our mission statement says we gather as an inclusive community to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world toward fairness, love, and compassion. Our vision statement says we strive to boldly enact our values toward a more just world as we nurture our growth to become a more inclusive and deeply connected intergenerational community. Inclusive community. And inclusive, a few other more important, including and accommodating people who have historically been excluded as because of their race, gender, sexuality, or ability. And how do we go about including everyone? It's easy to say, of course, everyone's welcome. Of Quoting from our shared UU value of equity, we believe that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish. But what if that worthy person can't get in the door independently, or can't hear the words spoken at the service, or they can't find a bathroom they can comfortably use, or can't get up the spiral staircase so they can volunteer with the media services team, or can't get information from the church newsletter because it's not formatted for a screen reader to use? In other words, if people don't have access to a space or information, it might be difficult for them to feel truly included or to flourish here. Which is where the accommodating part of the definition of inclusive becomes very important. Everyone has needs. As Haben Girma said, we all need some form of help or accommodation. It's just that our accommodations don't all look the same. The Americans with Disabilities Act has helped make the US more inclusive by requiring reasonable accommodations and access to public spaces. According to the ADA National Network, the ADA is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in many areas of public life, including jobs, schools, transportation, and many public and private places that are open to the general public. A partial list of required accommodations under the ADA include removing barriers to physical access in public and some private buildings, having ways to communicate with people who have hearing and visual impairments, providing reasonable accommodations so people with disabilities are able to work, and providing closed captioning for public service announcements. And under the former federal administration, a new rule to implement standards for web accessibility was also to be adopted, but the current administration recently delayed that compliance date for that new rule by a year. So given that the ADA has been the law of the land for 36 years, why don't we make all buildings, outdoor spaces, public transportation systems, apps, and websites accessible to all, especially when building something new? Why has the law not made all communities, including ours, truly inclusive? Part of the problem is that some places like churches and homes, they are exempt from the ADA requirements. The law is difficult to enforce, relying primarily on lawsuits to challenge the buildings and organizations that groups or individuals believe are not in compliance. And even when a new construction falls under the requirements of the ADA, failure to follow the law still occurs. These failures generally happen due to ignorance, ableism, and concerns about expense and aesthetics. Take, for example, the Queens Public Library at Hunters Point. Completed in 2019, nearly 30 years after the ADA was signed into law, the library, though beautiful to look at, was described by Shannon McLennan Weir from the Center of Independence of the Disabled as a monument to stairs. In her 2023 article, How Did a New York Public Library by Stephen Hole Architects Get Accessibility So Wrong?, columnist Carolina A. Miranda wrote, beyond the ADA compliance issues, which are major, the entire project makes me wonder if any actual librarians were consulted before the construction of the building. The stepped mezzanines make it appear not. In addition to wheelchairs, the area is also inaccessible to book carts. Was the plan really to require librarians to traipse up and down stairs carrying handfuls of books? These areas have since had their volumes yanked and now sit empty. And this is why some disability rights advocates say the ADA is really just a starting point. Beyond the law, we still need to change hearts and minds so the general public, as well as architectural firms, and even church communities have a better understanding of accessibility and how it can benefit everyone. Well, the question from the article about how such an inaccessible public building got built in the first place is not explicitly answered. I suspect it had something to do with those in charge not being able to imagine the accessibility needs of all those who would want to use a library. The architects perhaps did not understand the ADA requirements. Egregious in 2019. They did not seem to know that many human beings use mobility devices, including people who might work or volunteer in the library. They didn't even really seem to understand how libraries work. They pursued the perfect aesthetic while forgetting the purpose of the library to welcome all people who come looking for knowledge, entertainment, community, and of course, books. Closer to home, a proposed change to Naperville's building code to require at least one accessible, zero-step entrance on new home construction was recently rejected again by the city. Developers did not support the rule change due to concern about cost, difficulties incorporating the zero-step entrance into home designs, and potential lack of interest from home buyers. It's interesting to me that in the eyes of some home developers, the category home buyers does not seem to include people who use mobility devices or have friends and family who do. Ableism or discrimination against people with disabilities can also play a role in why people are not given the access or accommodations they need, and why a truly inclusive community remains out of reach. In today's Time to Gather story, some teachers, administrators, and parents did not want disabled students in the, quote, regular classroom. Those in charge said the disabled kids might be too distracting to the regular kids. They showed their ableist views by asserting that students with disabilities can't really learn anyway. They implied that these other students will bring the rest of the class down. And while current law now requires a free and appropriate public education for all students, these types of attitudes are still out there. Perhaps even worse, changes in the current administration's Department of Education has put already underfunded special education programs at risk. In fact, or I guess in my opinion really, ableist and even eugenicist views pervade the current administration and the majority in Congress. Starting January 1st, 2027, cuts to Medicaid will threaten some disabled people's ability to live in the community as they rely on Medicaid to pay for home-based services. And just last month, the Department of Justice put out a memo reinterpreting the Olmstead decision, a 1999 Disability Rights Supreme Court case, to say that the states are no longer required to provide community-based care to people with disabilities. This may mean the loss of independence and an unwanted return to living in an institution, which I believe is the ultimate loss of access to the life they had built and lived. So, you've heard a few examples of why accessibility for all is sometimes forgotten, rejected, and now, under the current administration, taken away. Now let's turn to some ways we can make life more accessible, ways that will bring us closer to being an inclusive community. The gold standard for accessibility in outdoor and indoor spaces, websites and apps is called Universal Design. According to the website for the Center of Excellence in Universal Design is the design and composition of an environment so that it can be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people, regardless of their age, size, ability, or disability. An environment should be designed to meet the needs of all people who wish to use it. This is not a special requirement for the benefit of only a minority of the population. It is a fundamental condition of good design. If an environment is accessible, usable, convenient, and a pleasure to use, everyone benefits. By considering the diverse needs and abilities of all throughout the design process, Universal Design creates digital and built environments, services, and systems that meet people's needs. Simply put, Universal Design is good design. So phew, that was a long definition. So I'd just like to highlight that last part on the slide. By considering the diverse needs and abilities of all throughout the design process. And simply put, Universal Design is good design. It sounds simple and obvious in some ways, but universal design is revolutionary. Think about how many things are built for the quote-unquote average person. Someone right-handed, average height, average weight, male, more often than not. And contrast that with a place that is built for everyone who wants to use it. How remarkable would that be? In other words, universal design requires us to bake those blueberries in with the batter, make something that everyone can use from the start, no add-ons needed, accommodate everyone, include everyone. I was thrilled to learn from accessibility expert and advocate Elena Humphreys' article that the Obama Presidential Center did just that. Ms. Humphreys wrote that evidence of a conscious effort to make every exhibit and passage accessible to all could be found throughout the center. Braille, audio, captioning, American Sign Language were featured in the many exhibits. Ms. Humphreys was able to roll easily through every door and use every interactive device while using her wheelchair. So I know we're not all architects or web designers, and we probably don't have the resources of the Obama Center. But whenever we create any program here at church, or plan an auction party, or create anything anywhere, really, we can keep universal design principles in mind. We can consider the diverse needs and abilities of all. If you have questions, ask. Talk to people who are interested in attending your event and ask what they need. And consult with the AIM team. Or at the national level, Gretchen Mowney is the Unitarian Universalist Association's Accessibility Resource Coordinator. She coordinates Uplift Access, which puts out a newsletter and also holds monthly webinars, September through May, highlighting accessibility issues. Everyone is welcome. You can find a link to Uplift Access on the Accessibility and Inclusion page on DUC's website, or go directly to UUA's website and search for Uplift Access. Conversely, if you know you have accessibility needs, please let AIM know, or DU staff know, or the organizer of your event or program. Because of feedback from congregants, staff are now looking into purchasing a live captioning system that individuals could use with their phone or a provided tablet from their seats. We're hoping this might allow for captioning at events in other parts of the church as well. And because people let us know they need them, AIM and facilities applied for and received an endowment grant to purchase armchairs for the Learning Center. Finally, we can also work to unlearn our ableist biases. This might be the most important action we can take toward becoming a more inclusive community. Because we grow up and live in an ableist society, we all have ableist biases that prevent us from seeing disability as a normal part of the human experience. Ableism tries to tell us that disability is pitiful or shameful or inspirational. Ableism keeps us from remembering that people with disabilities deserve the opportunity to participate in all aspects of our beloved community. Ableism prevents us from understanding that, disabled or not, we all have accessibility needs, that we all need some form of help or accommodation. To improve your understanding of disability, you can read about the disability justice movement, read books and articles about and by disabled people, and follow disability and accessibility experts on social media. Watch films and television shows by and for people with disabilities. There are some great stories out there, and AIM can help you find them, maybe at the engagement table afterward. As Haben Girma pointed out, meeting the needs of disabled people is not about going the extra mile. It is about equity. We all have needs that deserve to be met, and meeting all of our needs may require having more than one way of doing things. We might need different stuff. I might need a chair, someone else a wheelchair. You might need captioning or the volume turned up, and someone else might need sound blockers. But if we listen with love and keep an open mind, we can come closer to meeting everyone's accessibility needs and continue on a path toward a truly inclusive community. May it be so. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
Hi, my name's Elena Humphreys, and I am a Caucasian middle-aged woman sitting in front of a blurred background of my living room with blonde and brown asymmetrical haircuts and brown eyes. I have on a black shirt that says, "See the Good." I am here as an accessibility expert and a manual wheelchair user for over 33 years, and I just wanted to share with you some of the essay on my experience doing the preview of the Obama Presidential Center. When I tried on the 5th floor to thank the audio team for what they were making, I could not get through it dry-eyed, because what they have built is not access as an add-on, or access as a checklist, or access as a chore the legal department insists upon. They built in access as the baseline, the presumption. I sobbed trying to express the gratitude of being thought of by people in power, of sharing space inside a place that someone with resources, vision, and reach decided on purpose to make better for all of society, of recognizing that the people behind this project understand that centering the most affected is not charity, it is correction. It is the long and necessary work of expanding what we mean when we say, "We the people."
Stream and in the chat. I am not here to hawk Apple products. However, I think this video and song get things very right when it comes to accessibility and how some disabled people would like to. I hope you love the song and the video as much as I do. I think it's a bop. It is called "I'm Not Remarkable" by Kitty, with an extra Y, and the Class. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts. Until we meet again, may the warmth of our community carry you.